Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hey, I'm Owen from Sleepwulf, coming to you from Sweden.
And Owen, how would you describe the music of Sleepwulf?
It's a bit of a kind of throwback to kind of the occult sounds of the 70s, when all that kind of neon psych, mysterious stuff was going on. So a lot of just like super exciting albums were coming out. So I think that's where we get all our that's what we get a lot of inspiration from, and we're trying to kind of reignite that and bring it to the forefront now.
Do you want to mention what some of those occult-inspired albums were?
I think it's a lot of, so the original occult guy, have you heard of someone called John Dee?
I have not, no.
Okay, so it's back in like the 1600s. It's basically the guy that the wizard archetype is built on. And I think he was like best friends with the Queen of England at some point. He was a spy. He invented all these navigation things, but also he was a big on alchemy, which was like the big science of that time. So he kind of went on all these crazy journeys and wrote lots of stuff where he contacted spirits and invented all these insane ideas and things like that. So I think from that it stemmed to like lots of modern movements, like kind of Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn and things like that. And I think a lot of the occult is kind of like manifesting, taking words and manifesting into an action. And I think that's what we kind of try and do with the album and the music. That's where we kind of starting point. Yeah, hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as the 70s bands that you mentioned, are there any particular that you would say informs the sound of Sleepwulf?
I think it's like any band. So like all the members have different influences. I think we've all aligned with Black Sabbath, like most people. It's like early Sabbath. I've always been pretty big into like Jethro Tull, that kind of stuff, and that kind of prog psych rock of that era. I think also like things like bands like Led Zeppelin, like a huge influence on us. The kind of basically maybe the like Led Zeppelin seem to be the masters of taking you on a journey in songs, and we try and use that as inspiration for writing stuff, but it's difficult.
We'll come back to the occult and how your music is a vessel to talk about and perhaps is greatly influenced by the occult. Before we get there, though, Sleepwulf is based in Sweden, but you yourself are originally from Scotland. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So I moved here, as many foreigners do, to Sweden for the girlfriend. So now I'm based here, and then I met the guys, and then started jamming, and then we made. So they were actually a band before. They've been jamming since they were like high school. So I joined a bit later, but then we started just writing, and then Sleepwulf, as it is today, came about.
Now, the music that the three of them were making, well, was it in the same vein as what Sleepwulf ended up becoming? This kind of 70s occult-inspired rock?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely holds threads to it. I think it's listening to some of the earlier stuff. It was maybe a bit heavier, and a bit faster tempo. But it's definitely still. I think it's definitely still the same band. Before I joined, basically.
And as for yourself, had you been in a band before? Have you recorded before? You joined the Sleepwulf guys?
Yeah, so I was in a band in university when I was in Edinburgh, and it was basically like almost like a garage rock band, a bit like White Stripes, Black Keys. So I was singing and playing guitar, and we had a drummer, and that was super good fun. But then I moved away. Obviously that couldn't carry on. So then I went to look for. Then I was just doing a lot of solo stuff myself, and then I was actually playing a lot of like psych folk stuff. I kind of got really into like bands like the Fleet Foxes and things like that, and then joined these guys. I mean, I was always I always like loved rock, and I was always listened to it and always tried to play stuff. But and then I joined these guys, and then I think it's inspired me to write, get into that genre a bit more.
Did you have to adapt your vocal style to the kind of music that Sleepwulf makes?
Mm, not really. I think I just sung the way I always had. The weird part was because I'd always written a song and then wrote lyrics over it. And when I joined Sleepwulf, I was writing melodies and lyrics over someone else's songs. So that took a bit of time to like kind of get in the groove for that and kind of get the flow. But I think now we're definitely we can get it almost instantly now, which is a good feeling.
And how soon did you guys know what kind of music you wanted to make? How soon did the style of Sleepwulf come together?
I'm not quite sure. I think we never like sat around a table and thought, okay, this is the band we want to sound like. This is the music we want to make. I think we just started jamming, and they were showing me stuff, and I would put lyrics over. So I don't think I can pinpoint an exact date when it all came together. But I think it was at the beginning. It was a bit like just trying to figure out what works, what didn't work. I was trying to figure out how they played. They were trying to figure out how I wrote songs, and we're still learning. I think it's a really fun process in that sense. We're always evolving.
Would you say by the time you released the Lucifer's Light single, you guys were pretty happy with the style that you were making?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was maybe the first. That was for sure the first track that we all felt like, yeah, this is really good fun to play. It's really good fun. It's like it's the kind of, it felt like, yeah, it's the stuff we want to play, and we got a good response from that stuff as well. So kind of spurred us on to carry on in that direction.
Let's talk about the occult a little bit. I've interviewed a few bands who believe in magic and are involved in the occult in a very real sense.
Yeah.
I personally don't know that much about it. I've read some Crowley. I've read some things here and there. How seriously are you guys involved in the occult?
I mean, I think for us, the whole thing is a bit of, it's not like we believe in like magic or voodoo or all this like energy and stuff like that. I think, like, yeah, we don't believe in Satan, if you know what I mean. But I think what Aleister Crowley was actually getting at was kind of, so there's a saying of his like, do what thou wilt, thou wilt is the law. And that's often perceived as like, I'll just do what you want. It doesn't matter. But alternatively perceived as your will, if you will something, it will come to being. In that sense. So so the simplest way to explain it, so if you say a word to someone and then you magically appear a word in their head. So it's basically manifesting words into physical actions, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I spoke to one musician who described music as a form of magic in the sense that music is an ephemeral thing that you can't see and doesn't have a physical or corporeal form, and yet you can feel its effects quite physically. It's an ephemeral thing that manifests in the physical world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like transcends time and space. It's like any book you can pick up from 100 years ago, and you're hearing the voice of that person in your head when you're reading it. So it's one of these. It's a kind of separate from our reality in a way, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah. You mentioned that you don't believe in Satan as a real entity, but your music does reference Satan quite a bit.
Mm, yeah, I think it's so a lot of it is so a lot of the organized religions is quite like dogmatic and do as I do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. So it's almost a bit like a um, not a protest, but a kind of um, a way of kind of holding it up to the light and showing its flaws. Which so then there's the modern Satanist movement in America. Are you aware of that?
Are you talking about the Satanic Temple?
Yeah. So I think they don't actually believe in Satan as like as a real person living under the earth with demons and things like that.
Yeah, they're like a protest group for the most part.
Yeah. So I think it's a long. It's not. I don't think it's a protest for us, but it's more just he resembles a lot of the things that are. He basically holds a mirror up to the world and shows us our flaws. So I think that's the route we're going with that.
Satan as rebellion, Satan as a antagonist of the established order.
Yeah, I think that's how we see it.
Like Satan in the John Milton sense, right?
Yeah, it's not like not with pitchforks and fire.